Hello, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon. It's a pleasure to have you here. My name is Tahil Sharma, and I'm the Regional Coordinator for North America at the United Religions Initiative, the world's largest grassroots network of interfaith organizations dedicated to promoting peace, justice, and healing. Here in North America, we are very happy to engage in a lot of topics and invite a lot of important voices in the work for peace, justice, and healing. And we oftentimes enjoy having the opportunity to discuss more vivid and complex issues. We oftentimes don't like to lean into the space of just talking about why peace is important and how do we achieve it. We know that the complex nature of peace requires us to understand the need to connect with all sorts of identities that make us the entire person that we are. And I think it's important for us as a part of today's conversation to really analyze and consider what it means to show up and support, people who identify as LGBTQ in interfaith spaces, which is why the title Faith for Pride is a significant part of this event today. The work that we do for promoting peace, justice, and healing does not require us to just involve people who are religious or spiritual or indigenous. It requires us to involve people who come from all walks of life to be able to engage in the work of repairing the world and making it a better place. And one of the communities that often does not feel included and often does not feel like they can be a part of the conversation are those who identify as gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, asexual, and those who are a part of the LGBTQ spectrum. Um, and it's very important for us to consider the reasons why folks may not be able to engage, but more importantly, why we have a responsibility in our collective efforts for peace to make sure that we are uplifting, protecting, and advocating for people who identify as LGBTQ. Starting off with my own story as someone who came out as bisexual in 2020, I do know what it means to actually tap into my own faith traditions to understand what is my role, what is my place, and what is my purpose. And it was my faith traditions that actually helped me to acknowledge and deepen my understanding of the divine, just as much as it was a rediscovery of my dignity. I found it to be essential for me to understand that it was not just me trying to use a progressive lens to understand the divine. It was actually a part of the important tenets of both Sikhism and Hinduism, the religions that I belong to, that actually gave me a dignity that was inherent. It was intrinsic. It was something that could never be taken away from me because I am equally a part of God's creation. So I think for us, it's really important to consider how many faith communities have unfortunately fallen into this trap of interpretation that allows for sacred scripture and practices and community to weaponize their aspects of faith to actually dehumanize and show violence and discrimination against LGBTQ people. We see this across faith traditions. There is no faith tradition that does not have this history of discrimination and violence against LGBTQ people. There are even instances of secular communities where, because of conservative interpretations of politics, that they still have dehumanizing angles towards LGBTQ people as well. And I think it's very important that we not put ourselves in a place of exceptionalism when we think about how we think of faith progressively, because religion is has two sides like a coin, one that is beautiful, one that is inclusive, one that shows the best of humanity, and the other that shows the complete opposite. um, and I think what we have to do in spaces like this is actually be very mindful of the ways that we are actually letting LGBTQ people step into interfaith spaces, how they feel they can build reconciliatory relationships with them, um, how they may have faced trauma because of religion, and how they may have faced trauma because of just existing in general. And how are we making sure that we are not just saying, oh, if you are a religious person who's LGBTQ, you're more than welcome to join the interfaith space? How are we actually elevating the conversation and saying, how are we making sure that you feel secure, that your well-being is taken care of, and that you feel like people are advocating for you in the spaces outside of an interfaith one, where you can be allowed to thrive as a human being anywhere that you go. So that's a big part of this conversation today. In the background that I bring personally as someone facilitating this conversation, and with my colleague who is going to speak in a couple of minutes, who I'll introduce. um, I think it's super important for us to be mindful that we have a lot that we're working with right now when it comes to um, protections for the LGBTQ community around the world. As we might have observed, for those of you that don't know, um, there are many countries at this moment who are grappling with the reality of changing the ways that they think about the LGBTQ community for better or for worse. There are some countries who are on the path to decriminalizing same sex marriage or same sex relations. And they are allowing folks who identify as LGBTQ to be able to profess that openly without any fear or condemnation. And then there are countries who are looking to crack down on any semblance of showing or expressing your LGBTQ identities as well. And there is this bizarre spectrum of how countries are responding to that. Some by really focusing on jail sentences, some who create sort of torturous circumstances in jails, some who may just call right out for the death penalty, or who will often even look away from the justice process itself to actually allow people to do extrajudicial killings without any sort of due process for accountability. The existence of all of that is really problematic, of course. And when we look at it in the context of North America, we see a growing shift of dynamics in terms of those relationships too. Um, in Canada currently, there is a stipulation by law that actually deems the United States as unsafe for LGBTQ people right now, which is an amazing thing to think about, considering the strides that we had made as a country to actually fight for LGBTQ equality. The last 8 years have changed that pretty significantly with the role of the Trump administration and the role of a lot of state governments in their ways of interpreting and dehumanizing the LGBTQ community. So I have a couple of important statistics to share that I think will be significant for you to think about. Um, in 2024 so far, according to the ACLU, there are 487 anti-LGBTQ bills in the United States that have been introduced, which include a significant number of bills carried over from the previous year. So we are talking about hundreds from last year and hundreds more this year of bills that are focused on banning people from participating in sports, from using from using gender-based bathrooms, from being able to take away the rights to protest in association with LGBTQ rights, and so much more. And currently, 39 states and Puerto Rico have introduced this kind of legislation, which is almost 80% of the states and a territory in the United States, which is a mind boggling number to think about. And finally, an analysis from the Washington Post of FBI data actually found that school based hate crimes, where there's a lot of bullying and, and a lack of protection from discrimination from administration and faculty that targets LGBTQ people has risen in recent years, with almost 4 times more of a chance of this kind of bullying and hate crime taking place in states where laws have been passed against LGBTQ students and their rights. And that's a very significant thing to think about. So when we talk about the comparison of states like California, where there are a lot more protections for LGBTQ people and things like bullying, discrimination, and hate still exist, we can actually compare that to states like Florida that have done a lot more of a crackdown on language, on bathroom usage, on sports, and many things. And in comparison, there's a almost 4 times higher chance that a hate crime may take place against LGBTQ people. And that is a staggering difference. We know that there is unfortunately a lack of control in terms of culture and norms, where these ideas and these assumptions about the LGBTQ people may fester. But unfortunately, that's why we hope to lean on the justice process to make sure that people are protected, people are accounted for, and that we are trying to do the preventative work in humanizing LGBTQ people again. But unfortunately, the further justification that the law has in discriminating against LGBTQ people, the further it doubles down the opportunity to actually discriminate and show violence against them. And that's really unfortunate and a reality that I think we are still sort of navigating as we are in a current election cycle for the next president, where the future of the LGBTQ community does come into question about its ability to thrive in countries like the United States. So I've given that my moment to be able to share. Just to contextualize and ground us in a space where we understand where our region sits in this work and why I thought it was necessary for us to have this conversation. But the other reason why I want to have this conversation is to invite in a friend and a colleague who I just only met a couple of months ago, who I think has an important set of information to share about his experiences working in the Muslim community, and working with a lot of different communities in terms of mental health, but particularly with LGBTQ populations. So I'm happy to introduce my colleague, Mohammed Jibriel, who's a PhD student in public health with a concentration on community health education at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. His research interest focuses on the relationship between minority stress, religion and spirituality, and psychoneuroimmunology. Sorry, that was a big word. But it'll be great to be able to hear his about his personal experiences, but about the work that he's done with Muslim LGBTQ colleagues. And I think the important things that we need to take note of in interfaith communities to be able to think about how we can better support them. So with that, Mohammed, I pass it to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tahil, for the invitation. I'm truly honored to be here with all of you this afternoon. It's an afternoon for me. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to our sister in Nigeria, wherever you are. I'm in the East Coast, specifically in Greensboro, North Carolina. So a little bit about myself. I came to the United States as an international student. My family is originally from Sudan, but I was born and raised in Saudi Arabia. And as Tahil mentioned, I'm currently a fourth year PhD student in public health. And just Tahil, like this word, psychoneuroimmunology, is just a really fancy way to say how the social and psychological factors that people navigate, how these factors can impact them on a biological level. So most of the work that I do is at the intersection of religion, minority stress, and mental health outcomes, specifically within the LGBTQ identifying Muslims more broadly. But my dissertation specifically examines the intersectional experiences that trans and trans diverse Muslim identities navigate, and also how they navigate queer spaces versus Muslim spaces, right? Because queer Muslims feel excluded in any space they are in. Um, and also to talk about their experiences is something extremely complex because they bring a lot of complex identities in a environment or a social environment like the United States, because a lot of queer Muslims can be immigrants. They are also can be people of color. So they don't only navigate transphobia, homophobia, queerphobia, but also Islamophobia, xenophobia, anti-Arab sentiment, anti-Palestinian sentiment, anti-South Asian sentiment. Um, and that's a lot. That's a lot for any person to go through or to handle. And the discrimination can happen within a Muslim setting because of their sexual and gender identity, but it can also happen within a queer setting, in a queer space, again, because they can be Black or because they're Arab or because they're Muslim. Um, and I think that's really why it's extremely important for interfaith communities to mobilize and talk about the issues of um, queer Muslims. Um, I'm just theorizing here. I don't have any evidence that I can provide, but I think one of the reasons that there is an active participation and presence of queer Muslims in interfaith spaces is because we come into interfaith spaces knowing that we are different, but we're so committed to working together, right? And I think that's why interfaith actually works because we know we're different, but we want to work together. So it's important for interfaith communities to have those discussions and to be a welcoming space for queer who also identify as Muslims. I want to spend a little bit of time to talk about this connection between religion and health. And again, I'm a public health practitioner, so this is going to be the framework that I'm going to use to talk about the experiences of queer Muslims. And this connection is extremely important for us to consider first, because of the population that we're talking about has a religious identity, but also because the social determinants of health is the dominant framework that's guiding the entire field of public health. However, religion is not considered as a social determinant of health. We're not really investigating religion as a social determinant of health, even though I believe that religion is the determinant of all the determinants that we're spending a lot of time investigating and studying in relations to health. Um, Housing, education, access to healthcare, safe neighborhoods, occupation, all these determinants are shaped by our religious belief systems. The political institutions, so many legislations are being passed because of religious belief systems. But we're not really considering religion as a social determinant of health, and that's a problem. But in the very small body of knowledge that we have on this connection between religion and health, if you do a quick review, the first thing that you will notice is that religiosity, generally speaking, is associated with improvements in mental well-being and overall life satisfaction, right? That's just basic facts that we can find. And we can see this across multiple, age groups, faith traditions, ethnicities. We always see that religiosity is associated with decreased rates of depression, anxiety, substance abuse, and suicide. And researchers, specifically in the field of social epidemiology, they provided some explanatory mechanisms, right, for why religion is mediating this relationship in a very positive way. So, one of the explanations that are provided, for example, virtues such as forgiveness, compassion, gratitude, are known for being virtues that promote mental health. Also, religions in general and religious institutions offer a sense of community, right? Social integration and social support. I'm not sure if you heard about the healthy immigrant paradox, which is a framework that observes the fact that a lot of immigrants who move to the United States, who are newly, moving to the United States, they tend to have better health outcomes than Americans, even though they are coming from poorer communities, from poorer conditions, but they also tend to have better health outcomes. And research has concluded the social support system that we find in a lot of communities around the world is contributing to their improvement health outcomes. And religious institutions do that. So this is one of the mechanisms. Also, religions have very few barriers to entry. It is available to any person at any time, regardless of their financial, physical, or social circumstances. Again, I'm speaking in a general sense. But if we zoom in a little bit and consider the LGBTQ community within those religious communities, we find that the relevance of the findings that I just shared are extremely complex, right? So many religious queer people experience faith-based trauma due to their sexual and gender identities. And those experiences result in adverse mental health outcomes. Um, Religious queer people have reported experiencing religion associated guilt when expressing their sexuality, struggling with feelings of hopelessness. Many queer people have poor relationships with family members and close peers. And again, all these experiences result in higher levels of depression, anxiety, and psychological distress. If we zoom in even more to consider the experiences of those who identify as Muslims, it's a completely different situation, because all these findings that I just shared are coming from a Christian context specifically. This complex interplay between faith, sexuality, and mental health remains poorly, if this is the word that I can use, like extremely poorly investigated within a Muslim context. I have a gay friend who's also a Muslim. He told me that as a gay male and a Muslim, I'm left feeling like I must defend my faith within my own LGBT community and to defend my LGBT community in the face of religious attacks. I just don't have any space to go to, right? In the mosques, there are strict, gender roles that I have to adhere to. If I go to a queer space, a lot of queer people end up leaving their religious institutions. They do not want anything to do with religions, but a lot of queer people want to keep their religions, right? Like I was really moved, Tahil, when you were talking about how your religious belief uh really grounded you, right? It really helped you make sense of your experience in this world as a bisexual man, right? A lot of queer religious people feel the same way, but they don't find the community that can actually um, welcome them, right? So this idea of social cohesion, social support, a sense of community is not there. And if we have any social worker or a psychologist in this group, um, they can tell you and explain to you why these things are extremely important for one's mental health. So when it comes to the experiences of queer Muslims, specifically living in a place like the United States, a very diverse community, we see that they experience a lot of um, stigma, discrimination, rejection in every level of the social ecological model, right? It's more apparent in the interpersonal level, right? When someone discriminates against you because of your sexual identity or because of your gender identity or because of your religious identity. But this can also happen on the broader societal structural level, right? This can happen in terms of or in a form of discriminatory policies. I personally do not know the mental health implications of the Muslim ban, for example, right? How it affected queer Muslims who could not be with their families, who could not bring maybe a partner from overseas. What are the implications of the propagation of heteronormative and cisnormative discourses that we hear every single day? And these structural experiences, as well as interpersonal experiences, can affect one on a very personal, like deep personal individual level, right? Crisis of sexuality, crisis of gender identity, crisis of faith, internalized homonegativity and transnegativity. The other day, I was reading a really fascinating article that discussed um, the implications of internalized homonegativity for one spiritual sense. It was really insane to me to even understand those very deep, connections that can be altered because of the experiences and the rejections that queer Muslims face. So again, the dynamic is extremely complex when it comes uh, to their sources of social support, as I mentioned. So apart from facing racialization, homophobia, transphobia, and Islamophobia related to both their sexual slash gender and Muslim identities, we can see that queer Muslims also face feelings of exclusion and experiences of racism, whether within queer spaces as well as within Muslim spaces, because of those strict gender roles expectations that I was talking about earlier. Families typically do not serve as sources of support, right, for Muslims navigating their sexual and gender identities. Um, so the experiences of queer Muslims are not really different from the experiences of queer individuals within religious communities at large. However, what sets apart the experiences of queer Muslims is the severity of their challenges compared to their counterparts from other faiths. There are a lot of research and a lot of studies that I can definitely share with you that conclude that queer Muslims tend to report exceptionally high rates of depression and religious trauma, while also facing an exceptionally low levels of familial acceptance. And that's a really bad position to be in, unfortunately. So initially for my dissertation work, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you,
Hello?
Mohammed. You're
Oh,
good.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm back. Okay, awesome. Uh, so for my dissertation work, initially I wanted to do an ethnographic study. So the main research question that I had in mind, I wanted to study the effects of affirming queer inclusive Muslim spaces on the relationship between intersectional stigma and mental health and well-being among queer Muslims living in the United States specifically. And my hypothesis was that providing affirming queer inclusive Muslim spaces will mitigate the negative, the negative impacts of the intersectional stigma on mental health. And I wanted to go to Chicago and spend some time in Masjid Arabia or Arabia Mosque, which is listed as the only recognized queer inclusive mosque in the United States. Actually, there are a lot of arguments about Masjid Arabia being the only recognized um, like affirming queer affirming mosque in North America, even though there are other queer inclusive spaces that have the title mosque, but they are not really recognized by Islamic institutions. Masjid Arabia was the only recognized one in North America. And the idea was for me to do an ethnographic study. That means I had to spend a lot of time at Masjid Arabia doing a lot of qualitative interviews. But before going to Chicago, Masjid Arabia announced that they were closing permanently, and they cited burnout as one of the major reasons, right? So there is no support. So the mission statement of Masjid Arabia, I took this directly from their website at the time. It's an affirming and radically accessible Islamic community center in Chicago. Sorry, it's a radically accessible Islamic community center in Chicago with a mission to provide spiritual support for marginalized Muslims with healing justice practices in mind. And again, doing justice work in grassroots, it's really not easy, right? And if there is no support from the larger community, it's not going to sustain. So it actually made sense that they could not continue doing their work. And burnout is a serious issue in a capitalist society like the United States. This reminds me of a reading written by Dean Spade, and he coined the phrase the non-profitization of resistance. He was talking about how this idea of nonprofit organizations now are the frameworks that we have to solve social justice issues, but they're not really addressing social justice issues at the roots, right? We want grassroots work, but if there's no support, if um, if this model does not really align with the capitalist society that we live in, it's just not going to live longer. So there's so much that we can talk about, obviously, about the experiences of queer Muslims. A lot of research needs to be done in this space, and that's why I'm really passionate about the work that I do. But in conclusion, for us as an interfaith community, the protection and support of queer Muslims is a cause that transcends religious boundaries. And right, this is a cause that calls for a unified interfaith response. And again, I'm not conflating the concept of religion with interfaith. In fact, I share this a lot. Like I always say that I deeply believe that interfaith work is really not about religions. It's not about faith traditions. It's about people. It's about mobilizing uh, religious and non-religious communities alike to to work together for the common good. So these virtues, compassion, justice, and respect for human dignity, are human virtues that demand us to stand against discrimination and violence. So um, Tahil, I really appreciate you for all the work that you do. And I really hope that we can see a world where every individual, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity, can live a life of dignity and peace. And that's why this work is needed in the space of interfaith.
Muhammad, thank you so much. That is such rich information that I think is so important for us to really like sit and process for, of course, because I think it's so important that you're recognizing the need for intersectionality, but also the need for analyzing intersectionality and what can come of it when it comes to looking at the overlapping identities of religion, gender, sexuality, and public health in the case that you're emphasizing here, and the very real world impact that takes place because of discrimination and its rippling effects. Um, I think we oftentimes sort of um, overlook this idea in interfaith spaces of the ability to engage the topic of being LGBTQ, especially because oftentimes folks who come from more conservative schools of thought happen to be the main decision makers or the leaders in interfaith spaces. And I guess the question that I have for you, just to sort of start off our conversation, as others feel comfortable, they can ask questions as well. Um, I guess a question that I have is how do you propose navigating a more inclusive interfaith space when there is this direct tension that exists between faith leaders who have this understanding that it is not acceptable to be LGBTQ according to their interpretation of their religion, and there's a contingency of folks either in the room already or who want to join the interfaith space that happen to openly be LGBTQ. How does one navigate that space and create it so that there is a space for representation across perspectives of difference, but one that doesn't rob dignity and therefore can ensure that LGBTQ people can still participate if that's possible?
Well, if I had answer to that question, then we wouldn't even have the need to have the discussion because we can just like convince all the faith leaders to like, hey, here's the way. This is what you need to do, and then the world is gonna just be a perfect place for queer people who are also religious at the same time. Um, I really don't think I have the perfect answer for you, but again, like this goes back to what I was saying earlier about why there is an active engagement of Korean Muslims in interfaith spaces because they feel that they don't have to leave a part of their identity at the door, right? Interfaith spaces are designed intentionally to welcome differences, to engage differences, to seek understanding across lines of difference. And I don't think queer people are asking for and that's the sad reality. This is actually I don't say that as a positive thing. That's the sad reality. Um, Queer people just want to be accepted and that's not even enough. We should be talking about how we celebrate them, not how we just accept them, right? They're asking for the bare minimum, and we still can't provide that. I really don't know, Tahil, how to go about this, but they chose to come to interfaith spaces because they feel that they can bring their whole selves. And then we make those spaces even tighter for them. That is just a failure. That's going to be a failure from our part as interfaith community. So we have to do better. We really have to do better.
I kind of asked that question rhetorically, understanding that there wasn't an answer. So the fact that you tried to answer it, I deeply appreciate it. But I think that last point that you made at the end is precisely, I think, the message that is important to get across. It's we preach this idea in interfaith spaces about being radically inclusive. But boy, oh boy, do we have just this complete misunderstanding of what it means to be radically inclusive. Because somehow it allows folks just based on their worldviews to be included, but it doesn't really include a lot of other people in the process. Um, I've seen that in terms of very racist tendencies, unfortunately, where communities have professed that they are very religiously diverse. I've been to meetings where people came from around 8 to 10 different religious backgrounds, and everyone in the room was white.
Mm,
And that was a glaring problem to me, not because they didn't have access to diversity, but that their interpretation of inclusion is only limited by a specific identity marker that doesn't really show any mindfulness to the other perspectives that come with other identities that are necessary to make an interfaith community thrive. Um, and I think that can be interpreted across the board with um, certainly including that in the context of LGBTQ community members. At URI, we have many members and staff people and trustees who happen to identify as LGBTQ. Um,
mm,
as a matter of fact, we just had our trustee elections, and it is one of the it's I think the first time that an entire slate of newly elected trustees was all LGBTQ for any region in the
mm.
organization. I consider that a badge of honor, a badge of achievement for sure. And I also consider it, I think, a very important reminder that there is being a faith leader in LGBTQ is also not a mutually exclusive idea. I mean, there is a significant presence of LGBTQ faith leaders that exist across traditions, um, that engage in this important work of theology and mobilizing and doing justice work, as much as there is these larger populations of community members who are just looking for connection with their fellow faithful and their fellow LGBTQ people. So I think it's really important that you're bringing this into perspective, and I want to take this opportunity to allow other folks to ask questions who are in the room. I have like a buttload of other questions, but I will be not nice and make sure that other people get to ask their questions first, as people feel comfortable, of course.
I was going to add something very quickly. I just wanted to mention advocacy as one of the main pillars that we should be engaging in as interfaith communities. Um, the reason I mentioned that Masjid Arabia is the only, recognized queer inclusive Muslim space, I think
Mm,
because there is a very specific definition of a mosque, like what a mosque is, on a policy level, not on an Islamic, theological definition, but I mean on a policy level, specifically here in the United States. So organizations like the the Council on Islamic American Relations, CARE,
mhm,
they work very closely with the U.S. government, and they put those definitions, right? So
mhm.
there are many queer Muslim spaces in the United States, but they do not have the status of a mosque because they do not meet those definitions that are put in place by the larger Muslim community, specifically those organizations that I'm talking about. So, like, for example, one of the criteria that you have to meet is you have to own your space. If you're renting a space, you cannot be a mosque, right? So they're putting all these barriers in place because, like, they want a mosque to look exactly how they want it to look, right? So when Masjid Arabia started to fundraise, that was a threat, right, to
Mm,
organizations like CARE. And that's why we really should be engaging in advocacy work to change the narratives, to change the policy. Like, why does a mosque have to be something, owned, right? It's um yeah, so I really just wanted to just share that with the group.
mm, mm. No,
I have a
absolutely.
question.
Oh, yes, Moinaji, please.
Sorry, I couldn't join on Zoom through my
Sure,
phone or laptop. For some reason, the link didn't work, so I had to join via my phone.
no problem.
So I have a question of Brother Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Uh,
assalam.
what is being what is being done in the Muslim community to educate the community of this issue? Because I still find a lot of people very ignorant about it. They are old school, they don't know anything. And so, yeah, what is being done? Do you know?
I'm not really I'm not working with community members who are just working specifically on LGBTQ issues. I was only familiar with Masjid Arabia, and I really wanted to work with them, and I know that they have done a lot of work in the Chicago area specifically. It's actually Masjid Arabia
Mm-hmm.
was seen as, Mecca of queer people who are also Muslims in North America. So everyone knows
Mm-hmm.
about it. But in regular, just in regular mosques, I just do not think the leadership of our mosques here in America will even allow the discussion to happen um, in those spaces. So I really don't know. I wish I could have a better answer for you. Um, I, I don't know.
I actually do have kind of an answer,
Okay.
surprisingly. Um and it's because the way that I do interfaith work typically tends to be very different because I don't shy away from, the controversies and the difficult stuff. But Moinaji, what I've learned is very much consistent with what Muhammad is saying. Many masjids, many mosques in general, I don't think will even consider the idea of touching the subject, mainly because the sheikhs and imams who are engaged in sort of the theology will not touch the topic aside from just acknowledging um, the typical interpretations of what may come out of conservative schools. And I think just as importantly, the mosque leadership around, sort of the structure and the processes and the events and partnerships will also look pretty consistently in the same way, especially because that old school mentality is definitely present. But what is happening is that more of the community members, I think, are finding ways to build bridges that I didn't realize were actually happening. And this was a conversation that I actually had with MJ, one of the colleagues who was doing a lot of work at Masjid Al Rabia in Chicago. Interestingly enough, there is a trend of sheikhs, imams, and community leaders in masjids that are actually saying, unfortunately, we are not LGBTQ inclusive. We cannot provide these services to you, but here is information that you can go check out of these other mosques, centers, and places that you can check out, which I did not know was a thing.
Mm,
Because typically speaking, I am not aware that many people who actually have spaces of conservative interpretation will actually hand you information saying you should go check that out. So when I heard that, I was actually very surprised. Because that's why many community members who found out about Masjid Al Rabia were actually passed downs from other masjids that could not accommodate to those LGBTQ people, which I think is stunning development and an unfortunate one considering that Masjid Al Rabia does not exist in the same way anymore. Um, and at the same time, Moinaji, there's also a concurrent sort of discourse that's taking place among more progressive Muslims who I think have left sort of that institutional idea of going to the masjid and join organizations like MPV or Muslims for Progressive Values. They are one of the main organizations, I think globally, but especially here in the United States, that actually focus on more of a justice oriented and radically inclusive, progressive understanding of Islam. And they actually provide a lot of important discourse and theological interpretation and resources to help people better understand the relationship to dignifying the LGBTQ community in the Muslim context. And they have an amazing amount of resources that help with that because they work with inclusive imams and sheikhs and scholars to be able to help with just some of these ways of being able to interpret things. Um, so if there are any ways that I can share that information with folks, please let me know. I'm more than happy to do that. But I hope that answered your question.
And I also want to share something I remembered as you were talking. I read this article a few weeks ago, but there was a research done in 2015, I believe. I think it's in 2017. It's a national study with Muslim Americans, and 52% of them said they believe that homosexuality should be accepted. 52% of the Muslim American community said they're okay with homosexuality. But again, this is just the mainstream average Muslim, right? Um, and I'm pretty sure this study was anonymous, so they can really share their um, real beliefs about the issue. But again, it's still a taboo. They cannot talk about it in the mosques. They cannot talk about it in highly Islamic spaces. So it just has to be hidden. Even if they're okay with it, they still have to hide it.
Right. Yeah. And this actually comes to, I think, a really important observation that you made, Mohammed, in what you were presenting in your remarks, which is kind of this idea of selective discrimination that takes place when it comes to being an intersectional individual, going into the queer space and being discriminated against as a Muslim, and then going to the masjid and then being discriminated against as LGBTQ. Um, and I'm very kind of curious about the nature of this selective approach to how community members may experience violence or bullying or vandalism to their property or anything like that, and how it further plays into, I think, some of the trappings of what we're dealing with in terms of white supremacy and Christian nationalism. um, I think right now we are at this very critical moment in American politics where we are seeing that many minority communities are at each other's throats, unfortunately, for just a multitude of reasons, and how that just actually carries into this narrative of white supremacy and how it may actually be thriving in these settings. So, the question that I have to sort of simplify that is, how do you build a better movement for solidarity, knowing that so many different communities actually share traumas? And how do you actually help to develop a strategy for better relationships between them so that they can work together towards intersectional solidarity?
This is a really good question and an important question. And I learned this from Yafa, who is a queer Palestinian activist living here in the United States. And he said, if our survival is tied together, is linked together, then you and I are in community together. I don't have to like you. You don't have to like me. We don't have to be friends. But if our survivals are linked together, we are going to be in community together. And this issue that you just talked about, being discriminated against in queer spaces and being discriminated against in Muslim spaces, uh, one of the ways that queer Muslims respond to this issue is by identity concealment, which has very bad negative, mental health implications, right? They choose when to be gay and when to be a Muslim, right? Like it's just like wearing masks. And this again has really bad mental health implications. So one of the things that we need to be talking about, specifically within the Muslim community, is to normalize seeking mental health um, advice, because still there's a lot of stigma around mental health. And also, interfaith spaces can provide, those services for people who have those shared struggles in different communities. It can be religious and it can be something else, but there's a lot of discrimination happening. Um, so yeah, like these are the things that I've been thinking about. I ask myself this question all the time. And again, I think also public health has an obligation to make research actionable. It's not like we can just research those ideas and publish those data and results and not actually intervene and provide actual interventions that can um, do something. So yeah, I think there are some need for uh, people who are coming from different backgrounds. Like public health needs to be talking with mental health, and mental health needs to be talking with interfaith, and interfaith needs to be talking with the different religious denominations, and centering, the experiences of those who are discriminated against and marginalized.
Thanks for that, Muhammad. I think it's super essential that we are, creating spaces to have more of those vivid conversations between those communities, because some of the conversations need to create reconciliation. Some of those conversations need to call out the BS for what they are, especially when it comes to institutionalized religion and its ability to thrive on oppression sometimes. And just as importantly, trying to then remember that a lot of the human relationships that go with the work for justice and repair actually do require us to develop these unlikely alliances that were actually really meant for each other. I mean, making sure that LGBTQ people are aware that there is a thriving interfaith space for them to show up as they are, not wanting them to change who they are, that they can make them feel more supported, I think is essential. And I think to remind religious communities that, like, LGBTQ people right now are really standing up for the rights of many people, and that we should be paying attention to that example. I mean, one of the best examples I can bring up right now is the solidarity that's being shown around the world towards the crisis in Gaza. The struggle for the liberation of Palestinian people and a thriving region where all people can exist, in equality and equity, is being really represented by many of the LGBTQ people who are showing up in solidarity for Palestinians. And it's very interesting to see that, and the dynamics in which, you know the conversation about LGBTQ identity and community is being used both as a motivator for people to get more involved in these issues, and to be more aware of what's going on, and also is being used as a point of trying to deter people from getting involved. This is where we're observing a lot of work around pink washing, for example, where the use of LGBTQ identity to say that, oh, because these things happen to LGBTQ people, you shouldn't support them, even though we don't really help LGBTQ people either. And so it's that kind of selective work for justice also that I think can really put us in an odd situation. I don't You don't need to necessarily respond to that, but if you'd like to, you're more than welcome.
I do. I wanna mention something. After the Pulse nightclub shooting, when I heard about that tragedy, the first thing that came to my mind, like that was literally the first thing that I thought about. I was praying please, please, please do not be a Muslim. The perpetrator happened to be a Muslim man from New York. And as expected, the media started to attack Islam. Politicians, from, both parties started to say a lot of things about Islam. Islam hates us. And, Islamophobia started to come back again in the United States. It has never disappeared, but we started to see a lot of Islamophobic attacks. The community, the first community that really stood up for Muslims in the midst of their pain was the LGBTQ community. The leaders of the LGBTQ community came and started to say, do not use our name to attack another minority community. And that was an incredible, incredible form of solidarity, right? Like I would not blame them if they did not stand up for the rights of the Muslim community. Um, and I was really hopeful that the Muslim community at large will really learn from this amazing example in this very painful time. But every time I get disappointed. But hopefully we will reach a point where um, we start just recognizing, each other's dignity and love for our human, our just humanity.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Thank you for that, Mohammed. If anyone would like to ask any additional questions, Salome, I'm curious about what you might be thinking and observing. If you'd like to share, and if you have any questions, of course, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
Okay, thank you very much. Hi, everyone. I don't know how eligible I am, but I really don't have anything to say. It has been wonderful just listening and learning, and yeah, so thank you.
thank you for being willing to show up from Nigeria to participate in this call. Always appreciate that. Moina ji, Yuel Sab, Nasreen ji, if anyone would like to contribute. Oh, sorry, Mohammed, were you saying something?
Oh, no, I was not saying anything.
Okay. Well, if not, I guess one thing that I would like invite people to think about while we're in this space. We don't have to take up the whole 90 minutes, so that's not a problem at all. But one thing that I would like to invite people to consider as we're doing interfaith work together, as we engage in the space of dialogue very often, please consider, the representation of who you invite when it comes to the work that you do. I think very often that is the first step in making sure you're building an inclusive space for interfaith cooperation. Very often, very, very often, we do a lot of work that gets to talk about the expressions of faith traditions, the practices, the holidays, and all of that kind of stuff. And we know very well that we shouldn't be making people feel like they have to sit as ambassadors for an entire community of people. We want to invite them to speak from their unique experiences. But I think that's kind of one of the first steps to consider how you can be very intentional about inviting people to get involved, to represent themselves in the traditions that they come from, especially if they have other minority backgrounds and identities. That is the first and best way to be able to be inclusive. We can work with them to be able to get them involved, to get them talking, to get them into the space, and to really show that there's a human element that comes with allowing them to share their story, for people to ask questions, and to help clear the misconceptions that come with the work. So please consider that as an important first action, but don't consider it the only way that you promote this sort of inclusive intersectional work for interfaith cooperation, because the biggest thing we do need right now is advocates for LGBTQ people. When they're being bullied, when they're being attacked, when they're having laws passed against them here and around the world, it's essential for us to be able to step in as allies and accomplices for justice, to actually speak up for them and say, no, you will not discriminate against them. You will not take their rights away. And we will fight for their right, for their ability to be able to thrive. And that requires some extra effort and a lot of discomfort, because we typically don't enter what we like to call political spaces. But I think what we always have to remember is this is the fight for dignity and equality is not a political issue. It's a moral one. It's an ethical one. It's one that always invites us to be involved, because the ways we interpret the divine, our scriptures, our understanding of God always invites us to fight for justice. So if we're not willing to engage with the basic rights of our fellow human being, then we can't really say we're living into our traditions in the most authentic ways. So please remember that your multi-step participation in this work is essential to actually make a more thriving interfaith community here locally and around the world. Um, so kind of with that, if no one else has any other questions, Mohammed, if you have any sort of parting words or reflections that you'd like to share too, I welcome it now.
No, this was absolutely wonderful. I very, very much appreciate the work that you do, Tahil, and for centering, the experiences of queer Muslims today in this discussion. I am always more than willing to just come to your spaces and share uh, whatever I have to talk about the again the intersectional, I call it the intersectional experiences of queer Muslims, because they are very intersecting and very complex, and it needs to be talked about. And I appreciate everyone else who decided to be with us this morning, afternoon, evening. So I appreciate you all coming from all over the world.
Thank you for that, Mohammed. Appreciate you, the expertise you bring into the space, and the important reflections that you've made about this ongoing relationship with public health, quite frankly. URI is going through its process right now of trying to change the work that we do to prevent violence. And right now, we are taking on the narrative of an organization called Cure Violence Global, that actually focuses on emphasizing violence prevention through a lens of public health, which helps us to actually interpret the growth and expansion of violence as similar to epidemics. Whatever requires us to be able to do the preventative work actually requires us to equip faith leaders and community leaders alike to be able to be the ones that prevent the spread of violence in however they can make it possible as trusted colleagues. So I think you brought in really important points about this public health emphasis on the ripple effects of discrimination and violence, as it affects Muslims through Islamophobia, as it affects LGBTQ people through homophobia, biphobia, transphobia, and the like, and all of the additional identities that can help actually really break societies and communities. But to actually still leave us with this opportunity to say that the work is still possible, and being mindful of the inclusive spaces that we create can make this work even more possible. So thank you so much for that. Thank you to everyone who joined from Canada to Nigeria to Pakistan to here to the Bay Area here. And once again, we hope to continue this work to have these conversations, but to more importantly, engage in the repairing work that our world deserves. So thank you all so much.